let's create this grainy gradient in Cavalry because it's gotten pretty popular over the years. But how do you actually create this? Well, it's actually quite simple. We only need 3 layers that combined give us this really beautiful textured gradient. Let's get started. To start, I have a scene where I've rounded a rectangle and scaled it up. You can use whatever shape you want, but this is just an example. Now we're ready for the first step. To do this, we can start by selecting our object we want to apply the shader to, and then we can press plus on the filters, and we're going to add inner shadow. Now by default the color is black, but for this example we want it to be white. So select it, and then under color we can drag it all the way over to white. Now before moving on to the gradient, we can start off by organizing it a bit by dragging our inner shadow into the object we are modifying. And I want like a little bit of a larger blur amount, so by holding Alt you can change both the X and Y axis and then drag it to the right. Now we can move on to the gradient. So select your object again, and then under fill, you might know that by default you can just change the color like so. But that's kind of boring. You can't do that, but let's add a gradient. So right click and then add shader, and then select multi-point gradient shader. By doing this we can add multiple points on the object where we have multiple colors. And now you can see we can drag the colors around like so. For this I'm gonna add 4 points, so we have 1 in each corner. And these you can just organize however you want, but I'm just gonna keep it like I have it here. Now, once you're satisfied with the placement of your points, you can go ahead and change the color of these points. For this, I'm gonna select 2 colors that are vibrant, and then for the bottom 2, I'm gonna select white and black. Now, you can come back at any time and change the points however you want because it's all procedural. And now we're ready for texturing it with some noise. So, to start, select your object again, then go to fill, and then under shaders, we're gonna right click and then add shader again. Now for this, we're gonna select noise shader, and by default, it looks kind of weird because it's all laid over the other elements. So select your noise shader, and in here you can see a lot of settings, but don't worry. So the first and most important setting is the blend mode, and we can select overlay to keep everything visible at the same time. Scale is another really important thing in this shader, where you can pretty much just set it to the lowest at 0.1, but it's still not quite enough. So another thing you can do is up the frequency to a quite high number. I'm just gonna select 200 for this case. However, there are still some things we need to change. If you hit play, you can see it kind of functions as this film grain effect that changes for every frame. If you don't want this, you can just press this cross and it's gonna be still. And if you want to change the look, you can drag the time value to select a specific time. Now, if you want a more extreme noise effect, you can increase the amplitude level, or if you want a more subtle, decrease it. Now, there are quite a few other settings that look cool. For example, the minimum and maximum value, or the gamma value, or even adding an HSV adjustment and changing the hue. And if you want to learn how to morph between shapes, like I do right here, then you can watch my last video. Thanks for watching.